Me? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Legs Farms Coffee Podcast. I'm the cameraman, Eli. It's your host.
Coffee drinking guy, Ashley.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about cupping. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at Legs Farms 2010.
Instagram, Legs Farms Coffee 2010. Facebook, Legs Farms Coffee, and Instagram,
YouTube.
YouTube, Legs Farms Coffee 200. Or just come on tonight. Today, we've had a horrible year of having pickers, and today, all of a sudden, a bunch of people showed up. So we picked 6,100 pounds of coffee. We were not expecting that. We did covered it a little bit on a podcast a while back. We got shut down by the state. A new person took over as inspector and changed some of the regulations. So Eli's saying I got shade. So how about an old man with his hat on backwards? And so they shut us down until we could finish it. So I finished it today. So I'm covered with PVC glue. Eli ran the mill until I got done gluing, and then I started running the mill. So it's been a hectic day, and we got through at 7:05 p.m. From a 5:30 start. So that's actually getting through pretty early, but it's later than we've been going. But we processed coffee on the small machine, so it took us a lot longer, and I had to take everybody home afterwards. So we weren't able to do a full cupping. But I do want to go over the basics of cupping. You guys can look up what a cupping wheel is. I would also look up the palate, the different parts of your tongue, and then the different, like the sours and the bitters. And so that's why you do the big slurping when you do a cupping. Most of the time.
Also, though, that would be when you're doing, it'd be just like a wine tasting.
Yeah, it's exactly like a wine tasting. More people tend to spit out the coffee. With me, I tend to, if I'm the first one through, I'll drink it. If everybody else is doing it at the same time, I usually don't cup. But if everybody's doing it at the same time, I'll at least, I'll at least slurp it and spit it out. But this, I was pulping tonight, and I kept getting little clusters of beautiful beans. I don't know how well you guys can see that color. That is a really pretty color. And those are what you want to see when you're picking nice, deep red beans. So I just saved a few of them and made a couple pictures. But I don't know how well you guys can see. But this is, of course, whole bean, and this is the ground coffee. Of course, we got cool little cups. But when you start cupping the coffee, and I've got coffee all over me, one of the first thing they do is they bring it out, and it's whole bean. A lot of the guys will swirl it around, smell it. Which this one, wow,
It's it's Bourbon tonight.
Oh, yeah. The Bourbon is awesome this year. This isn't Bourbon. Oh, this is the Perinema. This is already ground. This is Perinema. And so they'll run it through this. This just knocks you over with chocolate. I mean, this is just such a nice coffee this year. It's a yellow Bourbon. On the roasted side is Don Miguel. This is Perinema. I'm not sure what the lot is this year. I think this is P2L is the lot number on it. So be watching for it because it's really nice too. But the Bourbon, the Don Miguel lot B1L is going to be fantastic this year. I may not sell it. I might just keep it. Everything's for sale. Remember that. Not my cameraman. So they'll do the smells, and they'll spin that one around a little bit, and they'll do the same thing here. For me, I get more aroma out of the ground coffee, but when you have one that's just knocking you over, when it's whole bean, it's going to be a great ground coffee. Once they've done that, each time they've done that, they make a few little notes. For me, I don't perceive a lot of what these other guys do. I just don't have that refined a palate yet, but I still keep trying.
Maybe one time, though, we could bring on a friend of ours who is a cupper. Like, that's his actual job. Yeah, bring on better.
We need to have a podcast with the Dwyers. which their family originally came here when my wife's family came to Kansas in the 1890s.
From Germany.
From Germany. His family came to Honduras in the late 1890s. Talking about getting on the wrong boat. But that guy made millions of dollars here. He started one of the first coffee mills. They built one of the first coffee mills in our area. And so their family used to own thousands of acres of land. And now that sort of generation, as they split it up, everybody's got their own little farms now. But those guys are really hard into organics. So they would be a good one to have on, and they could help translate for Better. Better is one of the premier cuppers in all of Honduras. You would never go to anywhere in Honduras, and probably Central America, that didn't know who Better is. He cups in a cup of excellences in different countries. Here, he's pretty much a every other year regular. He's just a magnificent cupper, and he is so strict. And so if I tell you it's an 86.5, you bet your life on it. It's 86.5. And any other cupper would give you another point more than what he would.
Didn't he give us like something bad just because he's tasted better? What was that?
He knocked me off a point one time because he's like, I know that this toasted seeds, he's like, but I just don't like it. And I don't think other people like it. And I don't think it's a good quality in coffee. So he wouldn't give me a point for it. That would bump me up to specialty grade. So he gave me a 79 on the coffee. And but then he's given me a point over the years, a time or two, and he says, this has got a lot of other really good qualities. It's got one bad quality, and if you'll roast this a certain way, you can get past that, and you'll have a good cup. And so we do exactly what he says. I like to have like a little bit. I don't know if you can pick that up with the camera. There's just a light color. There's a big color difference in the crack of the coffee and the actual coffee.
And that's because it's medium roasted.
That's where my medium roast is. That's where I really like my medium roast. But as soon as this podcast's over, I'm drinking it.
He's caffeine deprived. Caffeine deprived today.
I am. This is my original coffee from 5:30 this morning.
And it's not even half full.
Well, I threw some more coffee on top of it just to heat it up. But you'll have your spit cup, which this one needs to be retired. It's been spit in. It's got a crack in it. And then I usually have my own wash cup, and I'll put boiling water in here. It's just a big fat beer mug's all it is, with my little Honduras logo on it.
Where did we get that?
He's passed since, but a buddy of mine used to do vinyl printing, and he made me like 100 of them. So I slapped them. I got them on the car area.
Yeah.
What they're going to do, once they've judged the coffee, every step of the way, they're going to judge it a little bit. There'll be a woman that she can do this better than I can, because I already spilled it. And she'll come in and she'll shoot that in there. And then she'll stop it right there.
Ooh, that looks good.
And then it does. It looks good enough to eat, but I wouldn't. But it
kind of looks like a cake.
Yeah, it's got that cakey kind of thing on it. And you wait, and right now that's the bloom, or a lot of times they call it the plume. And that'll sit for a minute or two. It needs to sit for at least 6 minutes because it's boiling water. And so I don't understand why they don't follow the rule of 195 degrees. Come on in, dog. We have a new puppy. He's wanting to
This is very needy.
Be on the podcast. His name is Luke. We named him after Luke Skywalker and Luke Weiser, if you're listening. But once they've done this, then again, they're going to try to get those smells. And it is. I can't describe what it smells like, but it's almost food-like. I mean, every time I do good cups of coffee, it's just almost like it's good enough to eat. And I really like that.
Mr. Richard's on.
Ooh, I'm yawning, if y'all can't tell. It has been a long day. I yelled at an old man. I mean, it's just not been my best day. Gave Eli a hard time. I forgot about what.
About putting on a piece of the dispoper.
Yeah. But y'all spilled some coffee, and so yeah, it's been a.
Did have a good new guy tonight, though.
Yeah, we were processing a lot of coffee with a machine that was way too small. And so this is our little cup of coffee. It's got a thick crust on it. I mean, it doesn't slop around. And so what they're going to do is they're going to put their nose as close to the spoon as they can. And this is called breaking the crust. I'm not going to stick my big honker in there. And so you're going to do this and just break that crust. And that is just going to let all those flavors just rush out. And it's crazy how many different, it's all going to be different aromas. I said flavors. It's going to be different aromas that just rush out once you break that crust. Of course, there's no filter, so you can't start cupping until you clean the cup. So everybody's got their little way of doing it. Most guys are going to use two. So basically, this is you're acting like the filter, and you're going to pull all the floating coffee grinds to the top.
Who knew making coffee was such manual labor?
There you go. The guy's picking it near. Yeah, I hate to see coffee fall out of the machine because we just spent a year growing it and fertilizing it, and picking it, and everything else, and then I dump it on the ground. I dumped about a pound on the ground day before yesterday.
If anyone wants ground coffee, will give you a discount.
I was just tasting it to see if it was too hot to cup. So then the next thing you're going to do, I just put about a third of a spoonful in. I'm going to blow on it a little bit. And then what you're wanting to do is there's bitter receptors in the back of your tongue. There's sour. There's all the different flavors that you perceive. It's because of your taste buds. And so what we're going to try to use two hands here. So what we're going to try to do is aerate the coffee and cover our entire tongue with it. And so what I'm going to do is you do that a couple of times and you just try to see what flavors you perceive.
So what are you perceiving?
Well, for me, I'm sort of like I'm cheating because I know it's a Perry Name. And so I know what it's supposed to taste like. So I'm going to taste those, a little bit of light fruit in there. This Perry Name is a little more caramel than chocolate, which I prefer the caramel over chocolate. But do your own cupping and figure out what you think. It's amazing when I send the coffees out and I have the little cupping notes on the sticker, and it'll say the lot number, it'll say the variety of those things, the altitude, but it'll say chocolate caramel with a nutty finish and things like that. But we get a lot of other people that find other notes in there. Better usually puts down the 2 or 3 predominant things, and most of the time the people find those, but every roaster is going to add something to the coffee. And so if I hit it just right on my washed Lempira, I'm going to get that nutty finish. And I love that. That's just one of my favorite coffees. I also like the honeys because there's a little bit of fruit in there. But normally, Luke, come on, man. We're doing a podcast, dude. Normally, my go-to coffee is going to be the Marciesa or the Perry Name for my daily drinkers. But I've got this Bourbon that's a really small lot on the farm. It's like an acre. And then I've got about 100,
Mario,
a little more, Mario Ipe. And I seldom sell it. I give away some free samples. So it's just according to how much I produced this year. I actually have about 3 or 4 pounds that's from last year's crop that I saved. I won 4th place with it 2 years ago, and so I've still got a pound of that because I want to take it to Better and have him cup it. Your dog is chewing on my foot right now. And so I'm going to have him try to cup it and see what he would judge it as. I don't know if you can pan a little bit over here to where these cups are. There's 5 cups. These are my cookies. I knew Eli would eat them, so I had to hide 2.
Wow.
So he's got the
I
idea.
made them.
He makes them. He gets to eat them extra. And so this would be what we call here an international cupping. So it would be 5 cups. It would all be the same coffee, and we would start out exactly the same way. We would start out with all of it full of whole bean, and then the ladies will come over with a tray and take it over and grind it. And and then bring it back, and then we would smell it again, shake it around so that it releases a lot of that aroma. And then the lady, and this is an 8-station cupping table, so it'll hold 40 cups. We seldom do a 5-station cupping, but because that is an international cupping. So that an international means that they're going to export the coffee. Normally we do 2 cups. And so we'll take the same coffee, same bag from the same grind, and we just put it in 2 different ones. Now, when we have a lot of people here cupping, for me and sanitation reasons, I give everybody their own big beer mug full of boiling water. Everybody has their own spoons. Most of the cuppers are going to bring their own spoon to the table. For sure, I am. I've gotten on the airplane before, and I still have my spoon in my pocket.
Just wondering, is it washed or natural Perry Nama?
We never do a natural Perry Nama. This one is a washed Perry Nama that I'm drinking right now. The Perry Nama has a little bit higher score washed, but the people seem to like, our customer base seems to like the honey processed. So our farm in Pavas, we only do honey processed, and everybody seems to like that one. That's the Finca Juancito. Roasted, it's sold as Johnny's Java, but I like the washed, and it cups a little bit better, a half a point to a point higher in general. But when we're doing a professional cupping, if there was a buyer come in, we would do 5 cups. But when according to how many cuppers are coming to the farm, if there's 3 cuppers, I'm going to lay out 3 cups so everybody has their own cup, and I'm going to label the spaces. The table has little holes cut out just for these cups, and so each cup's going to have that guy's name on it, so there's no confusion. I don't like drinking after other people. But when it comes to a cupping table, nobody seems to mind. But I'm still going to put a Post-it note with their name on it, and that because I sure want my cup, So that's just what we do here. Normally, for my farm, we do 2 cups. We start out, we'll have about 20 coffees in a row with 1 cup, and we'll just taste them to make sure. Every once in a while, I have an off-putting coffee that I don't really love. And so that's what becomes Jamaica Me Crazy and Caramel Rum Crunch. But most of the coffees, 95% of the coffees we've had in the last 7 years have all made specialty grade. Last year we had 2 coffees that did not, but thankfully they weren't big lots. Last year, the cupping group that we go through, they said last year there was more bad lots than they'd ever seen. So more phenols and forget what the other word. There's
gasoline.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of them that are pretty rough. No, the gasoline was that hot sauce they gave us at the restaurant. They said that this one's avocado, this one's medium, and this one's gasoline. But there's a couple of really bad, phenol and something else are the 2 bad words you never want to see on your cupping sheet. But normally we have specialty grade coffee. We've been blessed with that because that's not many farms have that. And so we're hoping that happens again this year. Majority of what they picked today look more like this than anything else. We've got some pretty good pickers this week because we raised the price again this week. And then Monday, we're going to raise the price again. We literally had to abandon a few of the lots in the farm because we weren't getting the pickers that we needed. And by the time they got lot 1 done, the lot 2 had already started to turn black and dry. So we actually skipped over a couple of lots, went straight to Eli Mountain, and started picking there a little bit. And then today we started picking my Marciesa. So we knocked out the small lot of Marciesa that was planted 2 years ago that is doing amazing. That's where this came from. It was really producing.
Oh, today was Marciesa?
Yeah, they did Marciesa on lot 5, which is by the organic bodega. And then they just moved into the big lot of Marciesa, and that's where they'll be tomorrow. And then they'll move into Perry Nama. And so we've got them in some bigger lots, and hopefully they'll stay. But they've been real picky this year, and they've not been dependable, and they've not been loyal. So I'm just going to say that one time. We had 2 of our favorite pickers walk in yesterday. They walked through the field. They were assigned a line. They walked through their line a little bit, and then next thing you know, they just left the farm. Isabel and Glenda both left, and two of my favorite people. It just wasn't good enough, so they just left. So, but we're hoping these people we have now stick with us, and they did a good enough picking today that we actually produced some tea off of that. So if the cherry looks like this, nice and pretty red, then we can make a tea out of that. If there's a lot of green mixed in it and black or dried up ones, we don't make teas out of those. Not that it would affect the flavor, but because we're going to have to go in and pick out all that junk so that it doesn't affect the flavor. So I'm going to have a lot more money invested in that. But we cup tea and coffee. The tea we generally cup the same way, but we process it in the French press. We just put in the French press and brew it, and so that works out pretty good. But I know that the way we cup is probably not as official as some people do it. I do a first cupping, and I sort of see what I like, and then I get Julia and I get a couple other people out here, and we're going to cup them and start making notes, and then everybody compares their notes, and then we're going to take the consensus flavor notes of each coffee, and then start mixing those coffees together. We'll also give it a grade point. And so we sort of know which lots we're thinking about mixing already, so I can get some calculations. Then we take everything and send it to Better. So we have to give him 5 pounds. Although they only cup 24 grams, we still have to send them 5 pounds. So now that we're in association, we don't. We only have to send them a pound, and they cup just 1 pound.
Okay, but why 5 pounds before that?
Because part of their fee is that coffee, and then they turn around and sell that coffee in the U.S. And so
It's not a bad business idea.
But also, that's a way to get your coffee out there if that was your intention, is to let somebody like him have it. And they sell it, and they may end up selling it under their name, but eventually it'll come back to you, is what your hope would be. But now we're in part of that group, and since we've started winning a little bit at the competitions, they came to us to ask us to join, and so we have joined. And I'm not sure what all the benefits are. We can legally use the name Marcala and say the word Marcala on any of our podcasts and things like that, because Marcala is a pretty famous region, and somebody had the good sense to patent the name Marcala.
Who did that?
Not sure. But as it pertains to coffee, you're not allowed to use Genuine Origin or Marcala coffee unless you're with the association. And so once we got 4th place in Marcala, then we were invited in, and we didn't have to pay. And so last year we got 7th place. This year we're going to get 3rd. And so haven't figured which coffee yet. Better will actually tell me which coffee to put in. Once he's cupping, he's going to say, I need some more samples of 2 or 3 or 4 different coffees, and I'll send them to him. And then he'll cup them, but he's going to cup them at different roast levels, and he's going to figure out how it should be roasted. And then he'll say, last year he didn't do that. Last year I just picked coffees and put in. He said this year we need to get more specific with it, see if he thinks we have the potential to move, 3rd place at least. 3rd place I'd be tickled with. 3rd place you get on the TV.
Wait, we got 4th place, right?
Yeah, 4th place. So the first 3, and then us we got in the newspaper. And
that's pretty cool though. Still,
the newspaper guy came to talk to us.
made a big deal out of you.
You're North American. I said, yeah. He said, you won the coffee. He said, I asked. He said, there's never been a North American that's ever been in the competition and done anything. So
First for everything.
So oh man, 4th place. Eli and I, we were tickled. We actually, it was the day that Julia and Jonathan were flying.
Oh my
out,
goodness.
and so it was going to be conflicting time. Their flight was at 1. And the awards were given out at like 11, and I knew I couldn't do both. So Julia let
Or
me take
can you?
So what we did was we dropped Julia off at the airport at like 7 in the morning, and so they waited 5.5 hours for their flight so that we could go and get the award.
They have internet. They're fine.
That was a big time. I know that wasn't a very good cupping. If I were to span the camera out, you would see all our podcast junk and my jackets and just the place gets junked up when we're off season. In 2 weeks, we're going to start cupping every week. And so you'll get to actually see a cupping with some people there if Eli doesn't mind being cameraman again. And
we have another question. Have you ever brewed the tea like a cold brew?
I tried it one time, but I never went into it to the point where I figured out really what it was. But yeah, a lot of the people that are buying our coffee are saying they're doing cold brew.
No, the tea.
The tea, I'm sorry, I said coffee. I usually do it hot, but I really want to start doing some cold because I've got customers that are doing cold. The customers that have coffee shop have been doing it, but they're not really that forward with not really wanting to give out their recipe or anything like that. So I'll keep asking, but I'm going to play with it a little bit more. Next week I'll have more of Julia's attention, and Anna will be a little bit less busy, and so we'll spend a little more time actually cupping. We usually wait till there's a coffee that's 30 days old before we cup it, but we have started cupping a little bit early this year just so that we'll have a little bit better idea. We were a little bit worried about a couple of the coffees, and so we need to get an idea if we have some bad ones. But I did 7 coffees the other day we were worried about, and all of them taste just fine. One of them, it's debatable whether it's going to be specialty or not, but we'll see. We'll see here pretty soon. We'll get that one to better. A lot of times when a coffee hasn't rested enough, it's not going to be a specialty grade coffee, and so you let it rest that 30 days. And then you cup it again, and then it'll go up in score. We rest our coffee 90 days for that reason. It gets rid of a lot of the fresh taste, which you don't want in your coffee. But it's a process, and we do the best we can. With the teas, we've cupped all the teas so many times. We have a couple of varieties here that are yellow, and those teas don't do well. The Lempira does well as a tea. The Ica 2 is real popular. We did a little bit of the Mario Hippie last year, and it was fantastic. But we didn't have a big lot last week, so we only had like 4 or 5 pounds of tea off of that. But that's our most sought after tea that has the most unique flavors. So this year we're going to do every lot that we pick on. We're going to do every lot we pick. We're going to do some tea with it. Just to see how much of the Mario Hippie that we can process. We're going to have a bigger lot of the Perinema also this year, and then we're going to try Geisha and see how the Geisha does. We haven't tried Geisha as a tea, but it makes a real light coffee, and so we're going to try it that way and just see what happens. But if anybody has any questions on cupping, you can order cupping spoons, and they're like $10. $12, $14 if you get the official cupping spoons. But when I do cuppings with some of the smaller farmers, I have a cheaper cup. This cup I got from Walmart in the States, and it's almost identical in size because you're going to do, I forgot to tell you the measurements, you're going to do 12 grams of coffee with 200 of water. And so these are basically the same size cup, but this is like $1.25 at Walmart. This is an official cupping spoon, and this is a Walmart spoon, and they are almost identical. Just the Walmart spoon is bigger, and again, these are like $1. So when I do a little cupping with some of the farmers, I'll give them this little combo, and we're done. And so they've got a cupping cup and a cupping spoon, and all they've got to do is figure out how to grind their coffee, and they got a free little thing. When I first started, I got into it. I bought a bunch of these spoons, and there was a company that was going out of business, so I bought like 40 or 50 of them. And but I did the same thing one time when I was at Walmart. I think I've got like 25 or 30 of these, the bigger spoons. They both work the same. You're sort of going to figure out what amount you want to put in your mouth, no matter how big or small the spoon is. But there are different fancier ones. You can spend $20, $30, $40. I saw a couple one day that had a gold one on a necklace. And so, you can spend any amount of money on your hobbies that you want to. Are there some questions come in? Okay, you were looking at me funny. So let's just say it out loud. I can't read you that.
It's fine.
Okay. But I think that there's a couple more things I was going to talk about for the future podcast. I'd really love it if somebody had an idea, if they want to do something for a podcast. The next podcast tonight is Wednesday.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do if we can schedule a Friday one. I got to talk with Julia and everybody and see what we're doing Friday night. Otherwise, we'll do a Sunday afternoon podcast. If you guys want to put in a time that works best for you or a day that works best for you. Now that Eli aren't doing a formal Taekwondo in the United States, our nights, we got 3 more free nights. So if you have a night that works better for you, we're going to try to stay away from Wednesday night because that's church night. Sunday afternoon's a pretty good time to do it. And then we'll do that one from the back porch. So for sure, we'll do one Sunday, and we'll see if we can't do one Friday night and do some brew methods. And so we'll try to I do the same type of cupping with a V60 and with the French press and with the aerial press once we've done the regular cupping at the table. But after it's over, I'm going to be out here for at least another hour. If you've guys got questions, or you can do them anytime, but I can answer them instantly through the next hour. If you guys want to do that, send me a message. There's no more questions right now, E? All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. We are Legacy Farms Coffee 2010 on Instagram. We're Legacy Farms Coffee 200 on Facebook, or on YouTube. And we're Plano Legacy Farms Coffee on Facebook. And then it's legacyfarmscoffee.com is the website. Legacy Farms Coffee at Hotmail is my email address. So you can get in touch with me in a lot of different ways. There are no stupid coffee questions. Shoot what you've got. If you want to see a certain picture or something like that for some of your customers, let me know. I'll get you whatever pictures, and we'll do the best we can to make everybody happy. All right. Good night, guys.